This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. And I finally get to sit because the Cleveland Browns have made the playoffs. And look, when my stream highlights post, I'm going to make sure that I add the speech. It was like a 20-minute speech into the end of this video. Well, not the end of this video, but into the stream highlights so you guys can watch that. But before I get into the ins and outs of specifically what happened in this game, I want to talk about something deeper, something more meaningful than just winning one game or making the playoffs again under Kevin Stefanski. And I want to talk about what this season means, what it means for this team, and how important of a season that this was. At the beginning of the year, I pointed out that the Browns were at a crossroads, and there were two roads that they could walk down. They could walk down the road of becoming a stable, respectable franchise, what the Cleveland Browns used to represent for so many years before they got stolen from Baltimore. Or they could become the same old Browns, right? They could cement that legacy in stone and give you 20 plus years of that same bad feeling, right? Like, for a fan like me, and I brought this up in the pregame video, for a fan like me who was born in 95 and who was raised off of what people would call the new Browns, all my life, I have waited for that feeling to be restored because I didn't even know what it was, right? I was too young to ever understand what the old Browns, I was born after the old Browns were stolen. So I had no idea what that feeling was, what it was that I lost. And now I get it. And for so many years, I would hear stories from older Browns fans, from fans who knew what it once felt like with the team in the 80s and what it once felt like with the team in the 60s or the 70s. I would hear these stories from my dad about what the Browns meant to the city when he was a kid and when he was my age. And I would hear these stories about what the Browns meant to my grandma when she was watching Jim Brown and all those guys kick ass in that Cleveland Browns uniform. And I would just be sitting there watching Derek Carr, watching Brandon Wheaton, hoping one day that feeling would go back, that pride that my dad had in these Browns, that the pride that my grandmother had in these Browns, that one day I would be able to look at this team and have that same pride, that same joy about the team, that feeling, right? That feeling of the Browns to be restored. See, so many people have let the recent history of the Cleveland Browns and the kind of purgatory that they've been in, because this is what happens when a team gets stolen from you. It doesn't automatically rebuild. It goes through another rebuild and another rebuild and another rebuild, and you finally land on something, but you've been so dysfunctional. Like, the Browns really got everything taken away from them when Art Modell had the crime of being a horrible owner and never paid a single price for that, right? He got to move everything that he failed to Baltimore and benefit off of all of that, while the Cleveland Browns fans, the city of Cleveland, had to pay the price for his incompetence. For 17 years, we've paid the price. First, from 1999 till you could go to 2020, 2018. I like to start at 2018 because literally from 2018 on, this is a different franchise than what they were before. So for 18 seasons, we paid the price. We sat in jail for the crimes of Art Modell, hoping one day that we get off on parole. right? We were sitting there looking at Brandon Wheaton thinking, hey, maybe he might be the guy that gets us out. Or we were looking at Robert Trzynski, like maybe he might be the guy that gets it. Or we were looking at Ray Farmer, maybe he might be the Johnny Manziel, Brian Hoyer, all these guys after guys. Maybe they might be the guys that finally get us out. And it's 18 seasons later, they finally hire Kevin Stefanski, and it's finally over. The Browns have made the playoffs not just 2 times in 4 years, but 2 times with the same coach. That literally hasn't happened since Bill Belichick was the head coach of this football team. It's finally over. We finally have a GM. We finally have an ownership structure that works. We finally have a football operations president that works. We finally have a head coach that knows what he's doing. Whether you agree with him every week or not, he knows what he's doing. We are competent at every level, and we have a really, really good football team that we built to withstand literally everything a football team can go through, and we're finally here. We have sat through Brandon Wheaton, Colt McCoy, all of this to finally get to this moment, and you deserve it. Don't let anybody tell you how you should feel about this, Browns fans. Don't let anybody try to poo-poo on your parade. Don't let anybody tell you you're overreacting. Oh, bro's all happy about a Thursday night win over. No, don't let anybody with these loser accounts, with these loser takes, try to ruin your day because they don't feel that feeling that you feel. Fuck them. Right? Like, honest to God, greatest advice I can give. Don't even spend time arguing with these losers. Don't even try to dunk on these losers. Just let them go because they're losers. They want to feel what you feeling. They jealous, man. They where we were 10 years ago. Let them live. They trying to get to where we trying to get to, and they just mad that we finally got here, but we don't suffer. And I don't care what anybody tells you, what anybody tells me. Nobody can tell me how to feel about this because nobody else other than other Browns fans were watching this team be garbage for 20 years and sitting here hoping on hope that one day it'll be fixed, that one day it'll be new. How many of us started Madden career franchises trying to hope that one day we going to get that feeling back? We going to get this dude. Man, I wonder where the guy is that's going to lead the Browns out of all of this is. I wonder what that guy is doing. I wonder where they're sitting. Like, I know we've had these thoughts when it was so down in the dumps and the team just stunk. It just stunk. But it's finally over. We have finally gotten our day. We are finally a respectable organization. We are finally the actual Cleveland freaking Browns. It's back. We're back. The Browns are back. We're finally back. We're not talking about that stadium used to sound like this. No, that stadium sounds like the Cleveland Browns stadium. The Browns feel like the Browns again. We've waited so long. People like me who grew up in the era of expansion, who grew up in the era of coaches being changed out every 2 years, of quarterback jerseys, of endless jokes and memes at your expense. People like me who have lived through that. It's over. Like, we built up a lot of PTSD, a lot of pain, a lot of scars in the last 20 years, but I need y'all to look at me and understand. If you don't understand it now, understand it later. Please take the time, but it's finally over. Ray Farmer not walking through that door no more. Charlie Fry not walking through that door. It's over, man. We got real players on this team. We got real guys on this. We got real coaches, real GMs, real decision makers. We're back. It's been so long, but we're finally back. The Browns are something that matters again. One of the best franchises in the NFL, one of the most historic franchises. Literally everything that you think of modern football today, it started or had some origin in Cleveland because this is one of the most historic franchises in NFL, in sports. One of the most historic franchises. And I think people have forgotten that. Now that I've talking about the historic element of this, I also want to talk about the more cultural element of this, right? There's a more cultural side. That's his cultural side. My bad. I want to talk about the actual game now. Joe Flacco is playing his best football of his career. Now, I know some people might be scared off by that second half, but I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not. Elijah Moore got hurt. There were no wide receivers. They were triple teaming David Njoku. Kind of is what it's going to be, but I'm pretty sure Elijah Moore, given 2 weeks to recover, will be off of concussion protocol and ready to play by the start of the playoffs. And same thing for Amari Cooper, given a 10-day recovery period, or not just 10 days, 17-day recovering period, that he's going to be fine. And that's the important thing, right? The Browns potentially have, with some of these guys who are banged up right now, 17 days to recover for the start of next week. So they're going to be fine. But when those guys were in there, Joe Flacco just playing some of his best football, making some throws on the run, just straight up incredible. And I know there were some people who were holdouts on the wacko for Flacco thing, right? Who kind of were skeptical about it. And I understand why people would be skeptical about it, because it doesn't make any sense. But hey, man, it's happening. We're watching it every week. He's getting better. He's playing well. This is just fantastic. Like Joe Flacco's, it feels like a dream. Let's just live it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just live it. Let's not try to understand it, but it's been great. Joe Flacco's been playing great football. This is some of the best football of his life. I'm not even kidding. Like, he didn't play this good in Baltimore when he had a good offensive line. Like, he don't even got a good offensive line right now. He's playing some of the best football of his life at age 38 in a Cleveland Browns uniform. Can't explain it, but I don't care to. Hell, I can't even explain my own career. Like, not everything that's good needs to be explained, I guess. Right? So Joe Flacco balling out, doing his thing. Love to see that. David Njoku was terrorizing them. And look, this is as close as a one-sack game can be to making somebody's argument clear on being Defensive Player of the Year for Myles Garrett. He just completely dominated this game. Like, teams are so afraid of Myles Garrett, and justifiably so, because I believe the Browns defensive line today had a 1.9 second time to rush. A 1.9 second time to rush. That means teams weren't even getting 2 seconds without a pressure. And since that's the case, the Jets were very limited in how they could attack the field and use somebody like Garrett Wilson. Basically, it was just jump balls and nothing for Garrett Wilson. You can't let him run any routes, get anything open. And the secondary is so good that they can cover for the 2 seconds that the defense needs them to cover for. And it's just a very, very just difficult combination to stop, especially when these guys are tackling well, and they tackled well today. This Cleveland Browns team, this Cleveland Browns defense, they're living up to the bill. Now, obviously, they're going to have bigger tests going forward, especially in the playoffs. I mean, you want to see this team live up to that test, but boy, do you feel good about it, right? An offense that's moving the ball as well as any offense in the NFL, and a defense that's shutting them down as well as any defense in the last 10 years. How could you not feel good about this team right now? Now, I know there's an asterisk. It's only been against the Texans. It's only been against the Jaguars. You've had a weaker schedule the last few weeks. You haven't really played teams at top strength. I understand all of this, but they also have beaten the most over 500 teams in the NFL. They also have wins over Baltimore and the 49ers. So it's not like this team is a unbattle tested one, is a one that hasn't won against elite competition this year. They've stood toe to toe with elite competition. They've beaten elite competition this year. So I don't really see that as something too much of an asterisk to where I can't take anything from this. It is a spectacular season, and I expect them to continue to play well in the playoffs. And it all depends on who you draw and what your path is for the playoffs. But the ceiling is the roof for this team. And the moral of the story is that the Browns, they're finally back. The Browns you heard about, those Browns that people have been reminiscing about for 30 years, those Browns that people have been hoping have come back, for the older fans, for the younger fans, they're finally back. The wait is over. We're the Browns again. And that means something. That means something. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.